Hello, hello. Welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and this week we're reading The Sword and the Stone by T.H. White. Let's get to reading. The Sword and the Stone by T.H. White is a story about a boy named Arthur who is better known as Wart by those who live in the castle with him, who is trained by his tutor, a wizard named Merlyn, and he is trained by being changed into various animals to learn various life lessons. And in the end, he becomes the King of England. Now, if that plotline does sound familiar to you, it is probably because Disney did an adaptation of this book, and I actually didn't know that that movie was based off of a book until I came to it on the list and saw that, yes, in fact, this was a book and not just Disney loosely basing a movie on Arthurian legend. For this book, I'm going to give it a 3.5-star rating. It was definitely not my favorite book, but I did think it had some good qualities going on with it. Not enough, though, for me to put it up to 4 stars. Even though this book isn't a very long one and in theory should be one that can be read relatively quickly, I just found myself having a hard time getting through it at various points because I would get bored or distracted by other things. And so that's why I'm putting it at 3.5 stars. There are a few pieces of content to keep in mind with this book. As this book is loosely based off of medieval England, and our protagonists of the book, Arthur, or Wart, and his adoptive brother, Kay, are both training for eventual knighthood and squirehood. They learn various things such as jousting, sword fighting, and the like, so there is some violence, but nothing too severe, and most of this jousting that they seem to learn is more of play fighting in a lot of ways. There is also some discussion about war, and especially about how men are one of the few species who actually fight amongst themselves, according to the animals that Wart learns from. But warfare is generally presented as something that one should not find appealing throughout the book. For substance usage in this book, there are various points where characters drink mead and other forms of alcohol to match with the time period. And a few other things to be aware of. There are different points in this book with some racism and classism, but these are limited and they are peppered throughout. That is another reason why I couldn't really rate this above 3.5 stars. And another thing to be aware of if you are someone who isn't a huge fan of having religion in the books that you read, this book does make reference to Judeo-Christian theology at different points, and even looks at the creation story of Adam and Eve through a slightly different lens. Reading level for this book is a little tricky for me, as I think that a lot of middle school age students could read this, so about 6th through 8th grade. However, I don't think I would generally see this book taught in middle school. It would be more likely to see it in a high school setting where students are learning about Arthurian legends in a British literature class, for example. It definitely could be paired very well with Arthurian legend and other medieval tales that would be taught in a British literature high school classroom, especially since this is actually only book 1 of a series that goes into other elements of the King Arthur legends. However, if you did want to take this book and lean it more to a younger classroom, such as a middle school classroom, I do think you could definitely do that. What you might want to do in those cases is maybe after students have read the book in its entirety, then have a compare and contrast movie day sort of situation where they watch the Disney adaptation and they make comparisons between the book and the film. The Disney film is definitely based on the book, but there are enough differences that students should have plenty to write about. Additionally, Robin Hood is depicted as a character in this book, and so you could also look at legends of Robin Hood and compare those with how he is depicted in the book as well. One other activity that I can think of for this book is taking Wart's lessons that Merlyn teaches him and having students create their own lessons based off of those. So throughout the book, Merlyn changes Wart into different animals, and each animal kind of teaches him a different philosophical idea or life lesson. So you could have students choose their own animal, or you could provide some options of animals that they could choose, and then have them write about what they think would be difficult about being that animal and what life lessons could be learned from living in those shoes. For this week's poster square, we have a pretty simple and straightforward symbol. We have a picture of a sword to represent the sword in the stone that we see at the very end of the book. Now we are almost a quarter of the way through this reading adventure. Next week marks 25 books out of 100, which honestly I am very excited about because I wasn't sure if I would keep up with this or not, as reading a book each week and then recording videos, editing, and posting was something that was going to require commitment and was something that was a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So thank you for watching, for those of you that watch regularly, and if this is your first time viewing, feel free to go back and watch my other videos that I've posted. Feel free to subscribe to the channel as well if you're not already subscribed. I believe we are at 18 subscribers right now, so we're super close to 20. I'd love to make that my next small goal. And if you have not already, please feel free to follow me on social media, either on Facebook or Instagram, the links for which are both in the description of this video. As always, I hope that you have a marvelous week and a wonderful read.